As a cinema, it's frustrating when your success is decided by things you can't control. Hollywood hits come and go. What stays the same are the amazing experiences you offer your customers. Whether it's an engaging and successful membership program, seamless seat upgrades, next-level food and drink, or extras like arcade games and bowling. But to do this well, you need a POS system that can keep up. Tapos has been developing cinema software for over 25 years. They know what it takes to run a successful movie theater, and they've created a solution that can match your boldest ambitions. Learn more at taposapp.com.
So I think it's critically important that we continue to refine and upgrade our game, creating more and new and more experiences for people to come in. I've touched on it a few times, marketing more effectively so that people know what's out there. We need to capitalize on that enthusiasm that is there. And I believe that we will, but we need to understand that we have a big say in what the future of this industry looks like. And we need to step forward and act affirmatively to make sure that we can get a product in front of the movie-going public that they will love and enjoy for generations to come.
This is the Box Office Podcast in our daily CinemaCon 2024 edition, presented by Tapos. On today's episode, we will be going into the studio presentations from Crunchyroll and Warner Bros. That happened yesterday. As you guys listen to this show, it is still yesterday for us as we record. So it's a weird past tense, present tense exercise we're doing here.
I'm barely handling the 3-hour time difference. Don't
let's not go into the time warp we're doing. I think it's still Tuesday. Might be Wednesday as these guys listen to it.
I thought it was Tuesday all day yesterday, so who knows?
Who knows where we're at. But it is Wednesday morning as you guys listen to this, April 10th. Later on in this episode of the podcast, we've got an interview with NATO President and CEO Michael O'Leary. That's coming out on the feature segment at the tail end of this episode. But first, quick introduction. I'm Daniel Aria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, the only publication exclusively focused on theatrical exhibition that goes out on print, social, web. We're all over the place. We've got magazines in France. We do this for a living, looking at the movie theater business. I'm also joined by Rebecca Pauley, deputy editor at Box Office Pro, and Chad Kenner, staff writer here at Box Office Pro. Guys, long discussion here we've got of everything that happened on Tuesday at CinemaCon. But before we do, the way I like to start these episodes from Vegas, Chad, can you walk us through this Wednesday schedule as your listeners wake up, get ready to go to their morning meetings?
Yeah, this morning we're starting off with a studio presentation. Angel Studios, shout out to them, the cover of our issue, CinemaCon issue. And then we have 9:30 Lionsgate presentation. At 2:15, Industry Think Tank 2024, which is moderated by Matthew Baloney of Puck News. And that features Adam Aron, Chairman and CEO, AMC, Bill Kramer, CEO, Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Kathleen Taff, President of Distribution, Franchise, and Audience Insights of Walt Disney Studios. And then at 4 o'clock, we have the Universal Focus Features presentation. And then neon screening at 8:30 of Babes, the comedy.
Yeah, that came out in South by Southwest a couple weeks now. Mm-hmm. A lot of good reception on that film. That Adam Aron panel, I think that one's going to get spicy.
That's a heavy hitter. That's a
good one. I interviewed Adam Aron earlier this afternoon as we recorded this on Tuesday. And it was a spicy Adam Aron interview. You can read it on our website probably as soon as I get back and have time to write. You'll be able to catch up with it.
As soon as you've recovered from CinemaCon mentally and emotionally and physically, so 2 months?
No, we got deadlines right here.
That's fair.
It's gonna be 10 days. I'm good at deadlines. The only thing I'm good at. I think it's gonna be a really good panel at 2:15 p.m. We'll bring you highlights of that in tomorrow's episode, and let's go into everything that happened today because it's going to be a long episode. We have to start with Crunchyroll. In our preview episode that we put out on last Thursday, as you guys listen to this, We started out by sharing our bemusement, is probably the right word to use here, that a affiliate division of a major studio, Sony, exclusively focused on anime, that is primarily known as a streaming service, would be opening the studio presentations at CinemaCon 2024. But in hindsight, after sitting through that presentation, it was a really good idea, because everything we've been talking about at CinemaCon 2024 is about bringing in a bigger diversity of titles, getting younger viewers back. Anime hits that sweet spot. Guys, Sony's Adrian Smith from the distribution team showed up to introduce the Crunchyroll slate, really suggesting there's no divorce here from Sony and CinemaCon. We know that Sony is sitting out CinemaCon this year. By the way, they've done it in the past.
Other studios have done it in the past. It's
Exactly.
not a crazy thing.
It doesn't really suggest anything other than maybe the presentations weren't ready. They're focusing on other things. Totally understandable. I think it was important to have that Sony presence to kick off that Crunchyroll presentation. He introduced Mitch Berger, the SVP of Global Commerce, and basically the first 20 minutes of that presentation, guys, was very interesting in the sense that Mitch Berger, instead of just going into new anime movies coming out, was very receptive to the fact that most people in that audience, in that room full of exhibitors, had no idea how to understand anime, had no idea how to market anime, and he went out of his way to really introduce and sell the concept.
Oh, yeah.
He started his presentation by saying, "Tell me the content you love, and I will find you an anime to match it." Really, really situating anime as not something for one segment of the audience, but a very diverse, cross-genre animation style that people can get into.
I'm not an anime fan in the sense of, going to the conventions and subscribing to Crunchyroll and da-da-da-da-da, but there are some anime films that I count among my favorite. Like, it's he mentioned it's not a genre, it's a medium. I mean, he named off some of those titles, and I think you could tell that some people in the audience were like, "You're making that up." Chainsaw Man. There's an anime about a man.
We found out about Chainsaw Man. I had no idea what a Chainsaw Man was.
It's a man who's a chainsaw.
It's literally a chainsaw.
I think that's the anime for me. I don't know about you guys. I always wondered what my career would be like after print media dies forever. One of my $1 million ideas is starting just a novelty publication called Chainsaw Accident Quarterly, right? 4 times a year, just put pictures of chainsaw accidents. I think there's a crowd for that. I don't know if there's more advertising there than zero. There might be, I don't know, but Chainsaw Man might be my access point to Chainsaw Accident Quarterly, the next step in my publishing career.
It sounds like it has about as much commercial viability as most print does nowadays.
Yes.
Anyways.
That's sad. But let's go into this Crunchyroll presentation. I think an interesting point here on why we're centering the entire anime conversation around Crunchyroll specifically. The popularity of anime has really exploded at the box office over the last 5 years.
And that's an important thing, I think, to emphasize. At the box office, we have had, anime conventions and people meeting in parking lots, exchanging VHS tapes. This has been a huge global, phenomenon that breaks in a ton of money for decades now. And I think a large focus of what Mitch Berger was talking about was not... In addition to introducing the audience to some specific anime titles and to some specific statistics about the theatrical box office performance, for example, that Crunchyroll has released, 25 films since 2020 and got 217 million. I liked the video they put together, kind of introducing the audience to anime fans. And how they were, talking about what anime means to them, how they're going to get their kids in it, how they fully plan to be into anime for their lives. That was something that Mitchell Berger said as well, that that people don't really age out of anime.
Right. If you're a fan when you're a
in it.
kid, you're a fan when you're an adult. Kind of like a Star Wars thing, right?
Yeah.
That we're saying.
It's the Dragon Ball Z to Chainsaw Man pipeline.
I didn't know that it was a pipeline. Now I know. I think I skipped Dragon Ball Z and just went straight to Chainsaw Man. I am gonna buy a Chainsaw Man something. I was really sold on. I'm not sure I'm sold on anime. I'm sold on Chainsaw Man. But yeah, let's go over the 4 movies featured in this presentation. Chad, I'm going to put you in the horrible position of trying to pronounce these titles. Let's go with the first one.
Yeah, so we have Haiku, the Dumpster Battle, which comes out May 31st of this year.
That's not a fight in a dumpster, right? Because that's what
Right.
I'm hoping. From the title, I'm hoping it's people fighting inside a dumpster.
No,
I thought
It's not.
they were throwing dumpsters at each other.
No, it's much better if you think like just pit 2 people inside a dumpster. Just go at it. It's not that. It's not people throwing dumpsters. What is this?
it's about volleyball.
Oh, okay. So
I don't know where the dumpster comes in.
how do you fit the dumpster into this? So there's all right, it's volleyball. Sure, that is a letdown. Okay, but it is a series just celebrated its 10-year anniversary. So there is
This
a
is like the
built-in
first
audience
new content in a while. So there's the right. He was saying that this is the first time there's been like a new episode since 2020 or something. So there's like a built-in marketing hook that fans will want to come in for. And yeah, I mean, I know I'm not super familiar, with anime. The series and all that sort of thing. But I know sports anime. I mean, that's its own genre. That's a big thing.
Well, absolutely. Growing up in Mexico, we had, I think, 3 very popular anime shows. It was Dragon Ball. It was Caballeros del Zodiaco, Knights of the Zodiac would be how you translate that. That's the translation. I don't know if that's the title. And then the third one, the one that I did watch, the only anime I ever
Sailor
watched,
Moon.
was a soccer one.
Oh, okay.
Super Campeones, Super Champions. But I think the titles, I'm Googling this, is Captain Tsubasa. But anyone from Latin America will know the Super Campeones. A lot of soccer players playing professionally right now that are my age or younger, I'm in my late 30s, have this as like a seminal media property that they loved. I loved it too. And the second movie in this presentation had that sort of vibe. It's a soccer anime. What's the title of this one?
Yeah, it's Blue Lock the Movie, episode Nagi.
And it's about...
It's a prequel, right?
I think so. It's about... I wrote down this quote from the trailer. This is a story of the birth of a genius who will swallow up the world. It's about... it looks like a high school soccer wants to be a striker. It's about someone who kicks. It looks super dramatic. Like it makes soccer
how does that
interesting.
work
No
into with
offense.
Super Genius? All right, we're not going to get too much into this because we won't leave this room as we record this.
Yeah.
But that's coming out June 28th of this year. The third title here is a video game fantasy film. No theatrical release date confirmed yet, but it is confirmed that it is going to theaters, I believe, over the summer.
And was that the acquisition Overlord the Sacred Kingdom?
That is exactly.
Okay, because there was also the spy, the one we saw 10 minutes of a different film that's coming out actually in a few weeks on April 19th. Chad, remind me, what was the title of that one?
Yeah, Spy Family Code White. It didn't look like a family film. There were lots of throats being cut.
He said it was
there was throat slashing in something that was billed as a family film.
And a cute dog.
It had a cute dog, cute kid.
Well, there's like, I don't know, Bambi's kind of... There's no throat slashing in Bambi, though. I don't have a comparable here with family-oriented film and throat slashing.
This trailer's like, it's the man and the husband or their fake marriage. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're both spies.
Yeah, meets The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith meets The Incredibles. It's animated.
Mind-reading child and a dog that knows the future.
Okay, so mind-reading child, dog that knows the future, and a lot of throat slashing from the 10 minutes we saw. That sounds really cool. I'm happy there's an audience for this. But let's move on here to Warner Brothers, which was the second studio presentation of the day, and really took, it was 2 hours, but it was 2 hours with a lot of titles. So we're going to try to be as detailed as we can.
I mean, you don't want to be listening to this episode for 2.5 hours any more than we want to be recording this episode for 2.5 hours. So let's just say that.
And let's start with the first bit of business here. the head of domestic distribution, Jeff Goldstein, and the head of international distribution, Andrew Cripps at Warner Brothers, last year entered the stage at CinemaCon wearing hot pink suits.
And shoes, like
And shoes.
commitment to it.
Declaring it the summer of Barbie.
And what do you know it was?
It was. Now, what did they show up wearing this year, Rebecca?
I'm going to say the word, and I'm only going to say it once, costumes of the character Beetlejuice, and I'm not going to say the name again.
There were wigs involved.
They
in
were...
this film. And they did not take off the wigs or the costume.
They took off the wigs at one point.
At one point, I missed that.
Yeah.
2 hours in that costume, not easy. But it's an important point here because I think that gives a little insight on where Warner Brothers is with their slate and what they're looking at to be their big movie this year. The studio is on a hot streak. Something that Jeff Goldstein mentioned. Warner Brothers has delivered 6 of the 7 top-grossing films globally of the last 8 months.
And 30% of the market share since the holidays. I mean, that's... we said they're going to have their victory lap, and they deserve it. They got
I want to know who edited that victory lap reel, because that was a great...
I love
That was really good.
I love a good montage, and that was a good montage.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with the first big title that they've got coming up, and that I think in theaters after Dune 2 being released and did so well. It was the first title previewed here in the presentation. Probably the one film left on the calendar that I'm most looking forward to. That is Furiosa. That is the Mad Max Fury Road prequel, but Mad Max franchise sequel somewhere in the middle. We had George Miller, the director, showing up in person, joined by cast members Anya Taylor-Joy and Liam Hemsworth.
No, Chris Hemsworth.
Wrong. I can't tell the difference. That's bad. Should I say that up? I can't. Okay, Chris.
There are 3 of them, too.
Okay, it's Chris. I'm sorry, the Hemsworths. All right, so we've got Hemsworth brother, C, and Anya Taylor-Joy joining George Miller on stage to present footage from this. At this point, I think it's safe to say that Anya Taylor-Joy, with the release of Furiosa, should this film hit well at the box office, and we're expecting this film to hit well in the box office, with this film, she's an A-list movie star that opens movies with her name alone. And you look at that career, and it's a career that I was first introduced to her, I think like many audiences, in Robert Eggers' The Witch, which came out, what was that, 2017, 2018?
She did that. Thoroughbreds was along that.
Thoroughbreds was along those dates.
That was a good one.
She had that Netflix series where she plays chess.
Right.
What was
Very
that?
dramatic chess. The Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit. I think that helped her name recognition.
And she's in Dune, briefly.
She's in, for like 2 shots. She's in Dune. And I think she did a really good job in that mid-budget film that did so well from director Mark Mylod, The Menu, that came out last fall. That was one of those modest hits, that doesn't have to be a huge blockbuster. She's been making the sort of movies that don't always have to be blockbusters. She takes on, I think, interesting roles. We haven't seen her open a film on her name alone, but I think she has the background to take that step up. It's something we've been saying about Sydney Sweeney, for example. Great star, established on TV. She's had great, modest successes like Anyone But You, like immaculate at the box office. Sydney Sweeney's just a step away from that, right? What's her Furiosa project going to be like? That's what this is for Anya Taylor-Joy.
I don't know if you can say that it's opening on the power of her name alone. The most recent Mad Max earns the enthusiasm
of all of us. Their enthusiasm, respect for all of us. But she's also taking the sort of starring role that
it's a star maker role.
That's a star maker, right?
Yeah.
I think she's an established
Theron, for Christ's sake.
Exactly. And when we saw her walk on stage, and this is something that I don't follow red carpets very closely. But she has, we're around a lot of actors in this job. We see a lot of them in person at these junkets, going to Las Vegas every year. I say this about very few people. She has a classic Hollywood stardom associated. When you look at the way she shows up to these press events, to these media events, the sort of glamour that she brings, I don't see in a lot of actors. I especially don't see it in a lot of young actors of her generation. I think we're seeing the cusp of a really interesting mainstream career that's still willing to go and play like 7-minute role in The Northman from Robert Eggers, right? She takes the sort of roles that are mainstream, that are specialty. I'm really excited to see how this career blossoms. From the footage we saw today, guys, it wasn't a trailer reveal. It was an extended footage reveal of some scenes.
It was very specific about an extended sneak peek.
That he had put together.
It
looked amazing. For me, I am so excited. It's probably the #1 film that I'm most excited about, and I'm gonna have to see another presentation that replaces this. I really can't wait to see this film coming out in the end of May. According to George Miller, he finished shooting the edit last week. I mean, we always close out this series, going through and kind of recapping. We're all going to have the same. It's going to be Furiosa, right? And depending what we see from Robert Eggers in that focus presentation for Nosferatu.
Yes.
Though I will say though, one of the other films in the Warner's presentation that we didn't really get anything on their big DC relaunch video message from James Gunn, because he's literally filming the Superman movie right now. But they're working with Fathom on a documentary about Christopher Reeve, obviously very important to. The Superman.
Yeah, the Superman legacy.
I got a little teary. I'm not gonna.
I did too. You did too. I think we all did. So this is so what Rebecca's referring to is we were expecting to get a little bit of information from the Peter Safran James Gunn combo taking over the DC side for Warner Brothers. Now, Superman, the first title in this new leadership on the DC films, is currently shooting in Atlanta. So James Gunn sent over a video message just saying, hey, you know what? We're not in person to show you anything, but we will be back next year with an extended look at everything we're doing right now. And he said something that I think gives you an indication of what Warner Brothers is going to be banking a lot of effort marketing next year. He said something, and that was the summer of Superman. You know what? When Barbie opened last summer, Jeff Goldstein, I called him that Sunday when the box office numbers came in. He said, we had an offsite at the beginning of the year. David Zaslav sat down the entire leadership team at Warner Brothers and said, make this summer the summer of Barbie. That line, the summer of Superman that James Gunn said, gives you an indication of what that big hitter is going to be for that studio next year.
It gives us an indication of how Andrew and Jeff are going to be costumed.
Yeah, be costumed next year. Red tights. Now, we didn't get to see anything from Superman or really hear anything about that DC universe that's coming up. But Peter Safran, the co-head of that new leadership, showed up on stage at CinemaCon to show us the trailer for this documentary that Rebecca's referring to, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. That is going to be released in a partnership with Fathom Events this September. I think there were a lot of emotional reactions. I didn't expect to be emotionally affected by a trailer.
It's a trailer. Yeah. It's what, 3.5 minutes? I was like, oh my gosh, ooh.
That might be a sleeper hit come September.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that Fathom Events is getting involved. And they've had success with, I think they handled the theatrical release of a Peter Jackson World War I documentary from Warner's a couple of years ago.
They shall not be forgot.
And you guys are already forgot the title.
I know.
But they did that, and they had a lot of success with that.
Oh, yeah.
So that Warner Brothers Fathom partnership on documentary is established. It works. I think this is something that we're all going to be looking at in September and getting excited. Before I forget, because I can't let go of my Furiosa sign, excitement, and there's a lot more to go over. That release date on Furiosa, can we pull that up? Because I believe it's Memorial Day
May
weekend.
24th,
it's Memorial Day weekend.
All right, so I have to wait May 24th. My child's first birthday, her first birthday is June 10th. And I have to come up with a themed birthday party for 1-year-old babies on June 10th. It's going to be Furiosa themed.
Your baby has some hair, but not much hair.
Forehead.
Exactly. She's already bald. I'm going to get some baby paint, put it on the forehead. All the strollers, we're going to deck out with, I don't know, barbecue grills. Very DIY. I think it's going to be a really cool Mad Max first birthday party.
Yeah.
I'll share the pictures. I'm saying this because I already pitched it to my wife. She said no, and I need everyone listening to write in saying we need you to do this.
You said you were going to do the Dune one too.
Yeah, but
so...
that got scratched. I thought Dune, but that's already going to be in like...
Furiosa's better.
That's going to be on HBO Max by the time June comes around. Oh. Furiosa, that's going to be timely. So I can't wait for that. In between those two presentations, Furiosa and Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, we did get to see some footage of the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan coming out with a film of her own. What can we expect from The Watchers, Rebecca?
So The Watchers, as you mentioned, it's directed by, I think actually there were two Shyamalan daughters at the Warner Bros. Presentation, one of them working with her father on a film that we will talk about in a minute or two.
Yeah. And then Ashana, who directed
Ashana, yeah. So she directed The Watcher, which is The Watchers, rather, which is based on a horror novel that now I have to decide if I want to read it before I see the movie or if I want to see the movie, and then it's always struggles. But it looks interesting. It's creepy, maybe alien, maybe demon,
Celtic
horror,
folklore
Celtic folklore. I love a
yeah.
folk horror.
Yeah.
So that one, I mean, it looked fun. I think it definitely has the feeling of the sort of stories that we get from M. Night Shyamalan, at least sometimes.
Well, there's a bloodline here, and there's going to be more Shyamalan coming up later on in this episode. But before we go to Shyamalan, we are going from Celtic horror to the American West. In our preview episode that we released last week, you listened to us say that the number one title at CinemaCon that needed the most help in a theatrical push, that exhibitors really needed to find out more about, was Horizon.
Because it's not just one movie.
It's two movies, bookending the summer. One at the beginning, one at the end. This is a massive risk from director Kevin Costner. And he came out in person to introduce the film, and boy, did he sell it. I am a lot less worried about Horizon now than I was 2 hours ago as I walked into that Warner Bros.
You can tell he was emotional, and he received an award at CinemaCon. You could tell he really believes in this project.
Now, will it make money? Honestly, something like this, something with this ambition, I don't care. And I know our exhibitors listening do care, and that's the point why we do a lot of coverage. But really, bear with us here in saying that a project of this scope, of this risk, of this magnitude, we are seeing two films in the same series being released 3 months apart.
4 more.
Yeah, and there are two more. There are two more coming out.
Yeah.
Now, the first two have been made. They're slated for release 3 months apart this summer. The other two, I don't know what's going to happen to. That's going to be dictated by the financial performance of these. So I hate talking about this in financial terms, but we need to, because depending on how this does in theaters will tell us if the next two, A, get made, and B, come to a theater near you, or end up lost and forgotten in some streaming platform. I really hope Costner gets the chance to fulfill his entire vision. This is something, guys, that he started working on back in 1988. He was sharing it on stage at CinemaCon. He tried to make it in 2003, couldn't. This is just one part of the saga. And then in 2012, he said, you know what, I'm going to write 3 more. So he's got 4 screenplays, 2 films in the can. He's ready to go.
The name of the main character, the lead who he plays, is the first name is the name he gave his son.
Yeah, Hayes.
So this is like, I mean, it looks interesting. I mean, 12 years of the American West, kind of around the time of
I think that was
the expansion westward, and it's this one guy's kind of. It looks like an epic saga.
Well, that's the way he described it. I think the first part is set 12 years before the Civil War, and by the time the entire saga, now I don't know if it's the entire saga or just these 2 films, it'll have crossed through the entire Great West era in American history. The one thing I can tell you in this is that I think this will appeal to older audiences. I think that's a given, right? Yellowstone, I think Kevin Costner's generational appeal. But
you trust Kevin Costner with the Western.
You do. But I will say this, because I know the Western is a hot and cold genre that might scare some exhibitors. If exhibitors want to get a little creative with this, there was a video game couple years
Oregon
back,
Trail?
3, 4, 5 years, Oregon Trail, a little bit more recent, 3, 4, 5 years back, called Red Dead Redemption 2. Broke all sorts of records. And immersive, I play maybe like 2 video games. I play NCAA College Football 2012, which is I think the last time they made that one. And I played this one. I played Grand Theft Auto and this Red Dead Redemption series. This Red Dead Redemption video game series broke all sorts of sales records. A lot of people, a lot of young people became really interested and really involved in this sort of Western mythology. If you want to get creative, there is a crossover marketing opportunity here that might not be the very obvious, easy, low-hanging fruit of, hey, you like Kevin Costner, you like this.
Or like
there's something here.
Not like put hay bales in your lobby. You want to figure out a way to do it with less mess. But yeah, I mean,
there's
I think
potential. I'm saying there's potential for younger audiences here. It might not seem like it. They might not show up. But there's a way to play this that I think can tap into that enduring popularity of that video game. But let's move on to enduring popularity here, because a title that I did not expect to see anything from after Warner Bros. Moved it away from its 2024 release schedule. A title that I was worried would get lost and forgotten somewhere or streaming, or worse, because we have to say that leadership in Warner Bros. Discovery, sometimes they take decisions with films that we disagree. I was worried what would happen to Mickey 17 from a very influential director, but we saw a bunch of this title. Rebecca, set us up on Mickey 17.
So I think it was the movie that I was most excited to see something from director Bong Joon-ho, who was present at CinemaCon to kind of introduce some footage from the film, as was star Robert Pattinson. It's a futuristic kind of space. Robert Pattinson essentially playing an expendable cog in the machine of capitalism.
Understanding what Bong was saying here on stage, the character that Robert Pattinson plays is a guy that signs up to do a job where he dies and gets reanimated.
Yeah, he's expendable.
He's expendable, right? Yeah, and there's been 17 versions of him so far.
And then, whoops, one of them hadn't died, so now there are 2 Robert Pattinsons fighting to be the one Robert Pattinson who gets to survive.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge. He's as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the greatest directors working today.
And for me, Pattinson is the most exciting young actor working today.
I'm pumped as hell for this thing. I mean, it looks. Tonally, it's more of a Snowpiercer than the Parasite.
That's the note I put in. That's the vibe I got from the trailer, and we did get to see. Was it a trailer or was it a footage reveal?
I think it was a trailer.
So it's an official trailer.
He called it a trailer.
He called it a trailer. That's the vibe I got. I don't think this is going to do Parasite success. Well, I think it's more specialty like Snowpiercer was.
Well, and the other one that seemed similar to me was Okja, which was the one that he did for Netflix.
Yes.
It definitely feels like it has that same blend of wackiness and very dark comedy.
Let's not expect this to be a breakout box office hit. It's unfair to the film to place those expectations. But I can't wait to see this thing.
No, I mean, Parasite was, no one expected Parasite.
No.
But
you can see from the DNA of Parasite how that is a film from Bong, who isn't the most accessible filmmaker. Parasite was as accessible as he could possibly, maybe outside of Memories of Murder, as accessible as he could be. Parasite, right? In terms of a wider audience. It's still a challenge. I think everyone I've spoken to over the age of 50 hated Parasite.
All right, we can argue about the accessibility or lack thereof of a bunch of movies in I don't know, maybe tomorrow's episode of the Box Office Podcast from CinemaCon 2024. But yeah, I'm definitely super excited for this one. It wasn't anything that we expected necessarily to see footage from, much less director Bong come out and
no, that's a big surprise for all of us.
Yeah.
I really hope Warner markets this. Judging from the expense they put in bringing Robert Pattinson in person to percent, bringing Bong in person to percent, I think they will. And I was worried about that. 2 hours ago, before the presentation, I was worried about what would happen to Mickey 17. This gives me hope that the studio's invested in the film. They pushed the release date. but I'm hoping for good reasons.
It feels right. It feels like it is in line with Warner Brothers' reputation as a filmmaker's, director's archer. It'll take chances on the big stories and the big swings. That has not always been the case, but it definitely seems like a great fit, and I'm super excited for that. They do seem to be putting a lot into it. Later on in the presentation, my goodness, it was just like an hour ago, and yet it's all.
Well, we've got the second Shyamalan title. We have Trap.
That's right. Oh,
high concept, very high concept, so high concept.
So
from the king of high concept.
The twist is in the trailer, so I don't know if it counts as a twist.
Yeah.
Well, as the trailer out, I don't know if we can. Let's save the twist. It's a high concept. How about this? I'll baby step this. It is set in a concert at an arena with a big pop star, where a father takes his daughter, and they go in, and they notice that the police is barricading everything around the concert because it's been revealed there's a serial killer in the crowd, and it's a trap.
Like the title.
Like, yes, to smoke out the serial killer, and they will catch him. It reminds me of a Jean-Claude Van Damme action movie from the 1990s. Actually, this sounds a lot like... You replace serial killer with, like, a bomb in the stadium. This is Sudden Death. Yeah. The 1995 Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Sudden Death, where Jean-Claude Van Damme is basically doing Die Hard in the Pittsburgh Penguins stadium. Great 90s action title. I know our listener and colleague Scott Hanlon listening to this episode would have seen it 18 times. I've seen it 19 times. It has a vibe in that. And it also has
18 times. Mickey 19. Mickey 20 times.
It has a vibe of like a Van Damme movie from the 90s with like Hitchcock high concept thriller where the audience knows a little bit more than the characters. Yeah. There's something here. Now with Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan, you never know where this goes. The formula can work with, what was it? No, it wasn't Unbreakable. The Split.
Split. Yes.
That's what it was called. Yeah, because there was a sequel to Split that was called something else, right?
Yes. Glass. And then
Glass. Yes, I forget all these things. Another Anya Taylor-Joy title. I think she was in Split, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I'm excited. I mean, it stars Josh Hartnett, who is having a Josh Hartnett-essence.
That was Josh Hartnett?
Yeah. Did you see the Black Mirror episode that he was in? The most recent?
I didn't know Black Mirror was still on the air. Or on the Netflix,
he had an episode. It was good. It was good. He was really good. He acted his face off.
There's a Josh Hartnett renaissance that I think appeals to all of our millennial hearts here.
Yeah.
So that was good. That was exciting. Those go either way at the box office, but if someone can pull off high concept, it's M. Night Shyamalan. Let's move on to the other title that I think, as we open this episode, is going to be the one that Warner Brothers is probably looking at to be their biggest earner this year. Chad, you identified this as the one coming in with the most buzz. Beetlejuice. What can we expect from the film, and what was your reaction to what we saw?
I think, it was great to have all of the cast there and to have Tim Burton there. I mean, I think he was born
We had
here.
most of the cast, right? Because we had Jenna Ortega shooting and Winona Ryder's also in production.
But Catherine O'Hara was there in that scene. Michael Keaton was there,
all that
and
matters.
that's all that's all we needed. But and also some new cast members: Willem Dafoe, Justin Theroux.
Monica Bellucci. This is like a David Lynch cast coming together. I like it. But what was your reaction to what we saw?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in. Like I'm a Beetlejuice fan. Like I'm gonna watch it no matter what. But I think it's gonna be good based on what we saw. And what I really loved was Michael Keaton being so genuine and saying, like, it's really good. It's really good. It's so good. It's great.
Either it's really good or he's a really good actor or both.
Yeah.
I like the emphasis that was placed on practical effects and actually building.
No CGI in what we saw. We saw some footage. Of course, I think the trailer's out. The trailer's wildly popular. No CGI in sight from what we saw.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big draw for me too.
Yeah, I'm seeing the Tim Burton Beetlejuice. I want there to be weird puppets involved, and there are weird puppets involved.
And talking about weird puppets, let's go to the title that closed out the Warner Brothers presentation. That is a good segue, if I may say so myself. We've got Joker. Not going to try this. I'm going to say Joker 2. Not walking into that trap.
Again, we're going to call this by a French company.
Yeah, we're not embarrassing ourselves. this is going to be Joker 2 forever. I'm not doing this. We've got director Todd Phillips joining the entire CinemaCon crowd here on stage to introduce some footage from Joker 2. There's a trailer, actually, which dropped right after the presentation.
We were the first people in the world to see it. We're in that CinemaCon,
How lucky.
CinemaCon crowd.
But a very revealing quick interview with Todd Phillips before we saw the trailer, because there were a lot of questions on this film coming into this event. And he answered a good chunk of them. But before we get to that, I think he opened his talk with something that I think resonated with the room very well. Now, we know that Todd Phillips is the director of the Hangover trilogy, set in, well, the first and third segments in Las Vegas. And I believe the first and third segments in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And he has attended CinemaCon for many years. The last movie he presented in one of these presentations was the first Joker. That about a month before the first Joker was released, and I remember this because I was covering it, there were a lot of concerns in the press that there might be violent events or... Well,
I think it's given what happened,
Yeah, with the Aurora tragedy years back. So there were a lot of concern. There was a lot of concern over the release of Todd Phillips' Joker. Back when it first came out. And he came out and said, listen, I was supposed to come back in 2020 in this Warner Brothers presentation. Even though I didn't have a movie to show, I wanted to come back and personally thank you for sticking by my film. Even though there was so much negative press around it. Thank you for not budging. Thank you for making Joker a hit. That went over really well, and I think that it was heartfelt, and I believe him when he said it.
I feel like him and Kevin Costner were the two. There was a really good connection in the audience there for sure. I wasn't really a fan of the first one, so if it's all right with y'all, I'm gonna beg myself out of this one.
That's fine.
I like the first one, and seeing the trailer, it feels like kind of a natural continuation of what was set up in the first film. Introducing Lady Gaga and the relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was already public. Well, it is now. The trailer's out. Lady Gaga is playing Harley Quinn. Now, what I liked before we saw the trailer, what I liked is that Todd Phillips said, listen, there's a lot of talk about this being a jukebox musical. He said that he's never thought about this Joker sequel as a musical per se, but that the first Joker film he did incorporated a lot of musical elements. Yes. There's a lot of pop music in there. There is. And that this is an extension of that. This gets ramped up a little bit.
So more. We're not necessarily going to hear Joaquin Phoenix singing, I don't know, name
I Want to Dance with Somebody or something. I'd love to.
I don't know. I mean, he was sitting at a piano, so...
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. We still don't know, but the fact that he said that the way the Joker sequel incorporates musical elements is not too far from the first film. From a purely box office perspective, makes me a little bit calmer. I was a little bit worried on what exactly is this? Because here's the issue:
in bazillions of dollars, and he's taking a big swing, turning it into.
It's a big swing. Yeah. My concern with this is that the first Joker ended up being at the time the most successful. We'll see what happens with Deadpool Wolverine, the R-rated film. But as of this recording, the first Joker is the highest grossing rated R film of all time. You don't get there without repeat viewers, in my opinion. Because I'll tell you what, my mom isn't buying a ticket to see Joker.
Oh, it was definitely, I feel like as the controversy about the film, I definitely feel like it
alienated audiences.
No, I think it helped them. I think it
helped some audiences.
I think
but
we got the repeat
others.
viewers. People got really passionate about their love of the film, and So I wonder, is lightning going to strike twice?
Well, that's the thing, because that controversy around the first one. Also, it's a movie called Joker. It's about a superhero bad guy.
My goodness, there might be it might be about it's about Joker. It's about
Joker, but I think the whole marketing angle of that first movie is that there is a whole swath of your R-rated adult audience that is never going to buy a ticket to a movie called Joker. Whether it's rated G or R, there's a massive swath of that adult audience that will not go see it. Mm-hmm. But it was able to take a lot of that fake controversy to drum up a lot of interest of the people that not only went to see it, but the film delivered so much for that audience segment that they came back again and again to turn it into the most successful rated R movie of all time. Now, when you're taking a big swing genre-wise like this and incorporating jukebox musical elements, I don't know to what extent. My question is, I don't think my mom is magically now going to be like, oh, wait, Lady Gaga's in it, I'm going to watch it. No, I think my mom is still not buying a ticket for this.
Yeah.
My question is, are the people that saw it 2, 3, 4 times in theaters the first time, will they come back and push it to that level if it's a little bit of a curveball? I might like it more for taking that risk. Do the people that make this a hit engage with that? And I think that's a big question.
I guess.
I think that's the right question. And then also, there is an audience that maybe won't see a superhero movie, but will see Joker.
And I mean,
right,
he did win an Oscar for it. I mean, it's a cachet. I think. I mean, the narrative around this one, I think, is forming up as we speak on Twitter, on social media. So literally, as we are recording this, people are forming their opinions.
So let's go over the last little piece of the Warner Brothers presentation, because we had quick video messages from cast and creatives behind some films that are still in production. So we didn't see any footage of any of the films that we're going to go into here. But it was a nice little teaser of things coming out, Rebecca. They looked like they were taped on iPhones, but it was cute. What did we get to see?
Anytime you see Jack Black being Jack Black, I'm a big fan of that. He is... He was introducing the Minecraft film, which, I mean, knock on wood, I think that's going to be a huge hit. I mean, gosh, speaking about things that have the nostalgia element that people grew up, Gen Z people, not necessarily, it's the Five Nights at Freddy's Super Mario Brothers crap. Yeah. I think this is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
We saw something, Jack Black talking about Minecraft movie coming up, something called Flowerdale Street, starring Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor.
That looks like a period piece, 50s to 70s, based on the costumes they were wearing.
Yeah.
It's from David Robert Mitchell, who directed It Follows and Under the Silver Lake, Under the Silver Lake,
unheralded, great film.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see that one. Yeah, it looks like it has that kind of Stepford Wives vibe. A little bit from Superman Legacy. I mean, we saw the back of some of the sets, but it was good to see that one being obviously it's going to be the summer Superman next summer. So then we have Maggie Gyllenhaal directing The Bride! ! I always like it when a movie has a little punctuation to it.
You have to yell it. You have to yell it. It's The Bride.
The Bride.
There we go.
Final Destination Bloodlines.
People gasped. People were excited. I didn't know that IP had any gas left.
I didn't either, but there were people around me gasping.
It's a franchise that, due to the very concept of it, barely had gas to begin with. Here's one thing you can do, and they make it. It's so good. I really like it.
The entire point that everyone dies.
Yeah, it's the set pieces.
I love it.
It's the set pieces.
That's great.
So we saw Final Destination Bloodlines, and then we actually, I don't think we got a title of what this film is, other than it is the 5th collaboration between Michael B. Jordan and director Ryan Coogler, which is kind of all I need to know to be interested.
That's all you need, yeah. And, it looked fun. It was an exciting presentation from Warner Brothers to close out here day 2 at CinemaCon. Coming up next after the break, we've got our interview with Michael O'Leary, the president and CEO of NATO. And tomorrow, a whole other fresh episode with the latest coming to you from CinemaCon. Chad, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. Now, after the break, our interview with Michael O'Leary. And we are back here on the Box Office Podcast with a very special guest. We've got Michael O'Leary, the president and CEO of the National Association of Theater Owners, joining us to talk everything CinemaCon and everything about year 1 helming NATO and what's in store for year 2. Michael, welcome once again to our podcast.
Thank you for having me, Daniel.
Well, it's been a big first year as you're just settling in here for your second CinemaCon under the NATO banner. Of course, you'd attended multiple times when you were there with the MPA. So I want to start the conversation with a quick look back on your first year as the head of the National Association of Theater Owners. What are your major takeaways from year one at NATO?
Well, there's so many. I mean, I think if I had to pick a few, I would focus on, just kind of the passion and energy of the members, the NATO members that I represent. I came in at a time where people were starting to work past a lot of the lingering impact of the pandemic. It's been a tough 2 years, couple of years for this industry and for a number of industries, frankly. And I was just amazed at the enthusiasm and the optimism and the kind of the forward-facing approach that so many of our members were taking. I think, it's one of the strengths of this industry, and it's something that at CinemaCon, we're going to try and emphasize that and kind of highlight how amazing our members truly are.
Now, the first year always comes with experiences, going out to see theaters, meet new members. What are those top memories from your first year in the role?
Well, I think, I'm going to talk a little bit about this in my speech to the membership on Tuesday. I've traveled a lot in the first year. I've been to a lot of different theaters. I had a chance to visit Colleen and Bill Barstow's theater in Omaha. I also saw one that they opened in Chicago. Just last week, I was in Dallas for the opening of a great family entertainment center by B&B Theaters. Got up to Brooklyn and saw Stewart Cinema Cafe with Emmeline Stewart, which is a truly special place. And so I think, for me, just getting out and meeting all of the different people, going to where they are, going to their communities, going to their states and seeing the impact they have on the community is really the thing that I will take away from this. I've also, frankly, spent a lot of time in Los Angeles. I've developed some very strong friendships with the United staff at Gate 72A at LAX. But, I've also had a chance to sit down with the creative community and our friends in distribution and have, what I think are candid and important conversations with them. My approach is one of collaboration. We don't always agree. We're not always going to agree, and we shouldn't always agree. But at the same time, I think that there is a need in our industry right now for people to work together more effectively. So, at the end of my first year, I look back on kind of the relationships that I've tried to make, the people I've met, the things I've learned from everybody. Every conversation I had has shaped kind of my view of this industry and how best for us to move forward. So those are the biggest takeaways that I think I probably have at the 1 year mark.
And it's not just the airline miles that are surprising you when you look into the app. It's also little details about the industry, uniquities, let's say eccentricities. It can be a little idiosyncratic sometimes working in this business. What have been some of those surprises about exhibition that you weren't really prepared for, or you didn't really know too much about before you took on this job?
This industry is so relationship based. That, you talk to people and they know other people, and it's this kind of network of folks that are dedicated to creating the best experience they can in the theater. I think one of the things that we're talking about right now that I would highlight along the lines of your question is, for a long time, I think there was a belief that marketing of movies was solely the province of the studios, of distribution. And I think one of the things you're seeing as technology evolves, as the way we communicate with each other evolves, is there's a greater role for exhibition to be played in terms of how we market movies. Theater owners know their audiences better than anyone else. Therefore, it logically follows that we should be able to reach out into those communities and identify people and draw them to things that they are interested in theater. So it goes back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier about working collaboratively. So I think it's an industry which is has a very strong tradition and history, but it's also one that's kind of starting to evolve a little bit and fit more into the way that society communicates with each other today. So it's a little bit of honoring the past, but looking to the future at all times, I think.
And part of that evolution, of course, are the priorities that you're tackling, that you're looking at as head of a trade association on theatrical exhibition. I want to ask about that. Some of your top priorities for 2024. I know different leadership styles have different, let's say, time frames for objectives. What are yours?
So, I think in terms of helping our members, we need to continue to promote this wonderfully unique industry. I think in some cases, people have reached a preconceived notion about what going to the theater is, and it's just not apt anymore. We have to change that, and we have to get out there and promote that. That's fairly basic, trade association stuff. But I think that we've done a good job on that in the last year, and we'll continue to accelerate that process and do more of it going forward. I mentioned the need to, kind of up the marketing aspect of theatrical exhibition. I think that's particularly acute in the context of medium-sized movies, smaller budget movies. In order for the industry to be vibrant, we have to have those movies. It can't just be the blockbusters. It can't just be the tentpoles. And I think obviously, like so many industries around the country, our members are creating experiences. And in order to do that, we need to get more capital into the system. We need to have access to capital so that people can upgrade facilities, so they can create the experiences that people want. So in the marketplace, those are kind of where my attention is focused. I think internally at NATO, we're continuing to develop a program which is strong in advocacy, strong in communications, strong in member services. And, I've really enjoyed the last year working with the team. I feel like we're all focused and headed in the same direction. And I'm excited to see where that goes in 2024. Probably not as sexy for your listeners, but it's something that's important to me as the head of a trade association. We have a small team. They get up every day and they work really, really hard to represent this industry, which they all love. And I'm certainly proud to be a part of that team. So I'm excited about the continued evolution of what we're doing.
No, and I think that's definitely a good way of putting things in context of where we are right now as an industry. It's moving forward. It's making sure that we're in the best possible position right now, that the strikes are finally over, the pandemic is behind us. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to here at CinemaCon 2024, a peek into that real bounce back, that real recovery. What are you most looking forward to from this event?
Well, you may not believe this, Daniel, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing everybody. I'm a face-to-face guy. That's my preference. And so I think the chance to get back to Vegas and talk to people, albeit, frankly, sometimes in 45-second clips. It's still great to be in the room and to feel that energy and talk to people. I'm excited to show them the work that we're doing, show everyone the work that we're doing at NATO. I'm excited to see our friends in distribution. I talk with them regularly. I feel like we have pretty candid and open discussions, but they always, bring a great show to the Coliseum, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. Those are the things that make this event so special. It's the people and being there in this kind of communal atmosphere where everybody is committed to theatrical, and we're celebrating that. So I'm very excited about that part of it.
Now, those are the things to look forward to, the things that we're excited about. But we also have to take a step back and look at the challenges ahead. I think this industry has done a good job looking at what can impact us, how to mitigate those situations. In your view, what are the biggest challenges facing theatrical exhibition today?
Well, again, I think it's the volume of movies that are available to show in the theaters. And, I think our friends in distribution are committed to continuing to ramp up production and to get those things back. If you shut down any industry for 6 months, so no production, no promotion, there's going to be an impact, and we're still feeling that. And, coming on the heels of what happened in the previous couple of years, the timing of that was not great. I think ultimately in the long term, it will create more stability across the industry and allow us to work collaboratively to get more production done. But there's a short-term impact of it. So that's the first part of it. One thing I will say, which I don't think is necessarily getting enough attention, is that, in this period where there just hasn't been a lot coming into the theaters, I think that the NATO members have done a great job of kind of curating alternative content that people can come and see, whether it's, music concerts or documentaries or bringbacks, working with the studios, or even in some cases television series. Not surprisingly, the industry has kind of stepped forward and kind of filled that void. But that's the biggest pressure right now. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm particularly concerned about making sure that there are enough kind of medium-sized movies. There's an audience out there for those. I think they're very important, and we need to make sure that those continue to be made and marketed to people everywhere. So, I think those are the challenges. I also think that one of the at a macro level is, there's a tendency, I think, in this industry, certainly among some, to look at the ground right in front of us and to constantly be comparing today to yesterday or this weekend to this weekend last year. And I think that given all of the events over the last few years, we're not going to be able to really assess where we are, doing it on a day-by-day, movie-by-movie kind of horse race approach to things. When I talk to folks about the market and where we are, I encourage them to set up a time to talk in December, and then we can have a conversation about what 2024 looks like. But taking a snapshot of it right now, I'm not necessarily that, serves the larger good. So I think we're in a process which is evolutionary, it's iterative, and we're just going to continue to move forward. And I'm more interested in looking forward than I am at looking backwards.
And looking forward, you mentioned that there's a short-term impact that we had after, unfortunately, the second shutdown in the small sequence of months here because of the strikes. Let's talk about those opportunities that this industry can capitalize on in the next short-term period. I look back at just that 6-month period during the strike, the way that the industry rallied around alternative content, like you mentioned with the Taylor Swift movie. That's a great example of a short-term opportunity that we capitalized on. What else is there in the coming months, short term, that we can really take advantage of in exhibition?
Well, I think, if you look at 2023, to me, there were kind of two main takeaways. One was the enthusiasm of the movie-going public to get back to the theater. And the other was kind of the eventizing of different movies. And we hear a lot about Barbenheimer, obviously, because that was such a cultural phenomenon. At the same time, there were other movies where that type of thing was done, and people responded. So I think the biggest takeaway is to look at the consumer demand. We don't have a demand issue in this industry, and we need to capitalize on that. So part of what I want to talk with the NATO members at CinemaCon about is, we're in a special moment here, coming off of the things that you talked about, which kind of have slowed our recovery. But we're in a special moment where if we seize that moment, that we can really do something very positive for our industry going forward. So I think it's critically important that we continue to refine and upgrade our game, creating more and new and more experiences for people to come in. I've touched on it a few times, marketing more effectively so that people know what's out there. We need to capitalize on that enthusiasm that is there. And I believe that we will. But we need to understand that we have a big say in what the future of this industry looks like, and we need to step forward and act affirmatively to make sure that we can get a product in front of the movie-going public that they will love and enjoy for generations to come.
Yeah, thank you so much for these insights. Michael, I do want to close up our interview here with probably the toughest question you'll get from a round of reporters this month. Understanding you follow a lot of your passions, policy work, legal work, cinema, you like looking into the future. I do have to ask you, now that Lewis Hamilton is going to Ferrari, who drives next to George Russell at Mercedes next season?
This is a tough one. I would take Carlos Sainz, but I'm a Ferrari guy, so I may have a bit of the red mist with that. I don't know who drives with George Russell. Lando? I don't know. Is there room in that team for those two?
I mean, Lando's doing pretty well in McLaren, but you never know. Ferrari's looking great so far. He could use a win once in a while. That might happen with the color red.
The thing that's interesting to me is that for so long Mercedes was so dominant, and they haven't had as much success in the last couple of years. But increasingly, some of the things that they're saying, they seem a little bit adrift, and I suspect that seat will always be appealing. I just don't know. I don't know. You've stumped me. I will give you credit, Daniel. You got me.
as long as my Checo Perez stays in the top team, I'm happy. Whether it's Red Bull or Mercedes, I'm not going to complain. Everyone else can move around. I'm good.
And that was Michael O'Leary, the president and CEO of the National Association of Theater Owners. Thank you so much for joining us. Earlier, you heard from my colleagues, Chad Kennard and Rebecca Pauley, and I am Daniel Aria, the editorial director here at Box Office Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back once again with another daily episode bringing you the latest highlights, insights, and let's say top headlines that we're writing from the event at CinemaCon 2024. Thank you again, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.